Looks all right to me, Bill. Shall we try it?
All right. Here we go.
Well, we're in good company as usual.
I better wait until we get inside. Might be a chamber of horrors.
Or a palace of beauty. Let's go and see.
When we reach Exeter, there are lots of routes, so we'll have plenty of choice.
The quickest way will suit me, all right.
Probably the dullest. It usually is. I know Devonshire. Give me the byways and the lanes. Won't it be grand to get among those Devonshire lanes again, winding up and down the hilly countryside?
Yes. And remember those perfect little villages and sudden views of the sea where the road dips down to tiny fishing hamlets.
And along the coast, we can search out sandy inlets and lovely coves where we can bathe.
I shall bask in the sunshine.
It's always assuming there's sun to bask in.
I suppose the car will stand up to it. They're pretty steep, some of those hills.
Stand up to it? Why, she'll revel in it if I know her. Give her a bit of throttle and she'll romp up any gradient we're likely to meet. She'll take us anywhere we want to go.
Then if the car's all right, it's only the driving I'll have to worry about.
If only my passenger can be trusted as much as the car. We find the prettiest combe in Devon. Turn Cornwall inside out for the prettiest cove, the quaintest cottage and the finest view of the sea. And then we can say we've seen the best that England can show us.
Oh, did you hear that? Cornwall the best in England? Nonsense. Not a bit of it. Oh, no, we can't allow that. Have you forgotten the Lake District? Cornwall's all right in a pretty sort of way. But for real scenery, give me the lakes. There you'll find the best of Britain, all right. Something to satisfy the eye. Where else can you see such a jagged skyline? Or, by way of contrast, such smooth meadows, such wooded slopes, or such entrancing gem-like lakes, studded with fir-clad islands? Where else, I ask you?
What do you think, George? I think you're getting too poetical, Bill. You really must excuse him, but he's crazy about the lakes, and you just set him off. Bill Brown. Miss,
Ellen, and this is Miss Brindley.
How do you do?
Miss Brindley, this is Mr. Smith.
How do you do? You see, he went to the lakes last year and caught it rather badly. I mean the fever for mountains, pine trees, rocky crags, lush meadows, and all the rest of it. You look up your Wordsworth. But really, if you want to find out what a car will do, the Lake District is the place. The roads wind and twist up the mountainsides, and the engine plugs away at it with the back wheels spinning on the loose surface. And what a view when you're at the top. mountains all round, a valley below with a stream corkscrewing its way to a jolly little lake that's simply inviting you for a swim.
Now who's got the fever? Excuse me, ladies, while I calm him down.
I should think so too, motoring up mountainsides. You can boast about your mountains, but after all, they're only rocky wildernesses covered with moss. Now, I reckon there's nothing to beat the country between London and the sea. Take a look at those snaps I took only the other week. Of course, there's nothing sensational about Kent, Surrey or Sussex, but as counties, they're simply fine. Only an hour's run from London, you'll see rural England at its very best. Get off the beaten track and you'll find old timbered houses, ancient churches, windmills lazing in their old age, and a never-ending variety of woods, fields, and commons. And if you want your extensive views and wide open spaces, what's wrong with the South Downs? Great humpbacks of green with little white roadways winding across them. From the top of the downs, the countryside spreads out to the north like a jigsaw puzzle of fields and woods. And to the south, there's the sea sparkling beyond white cliffs. I should have had some more pictures to show you, only the light got into the camera and I'm afraid I forgot to wind the film on. Of course, one or two are rather overexposed, but that one of the church would have been fine if I'd got a little more of the building in. Have you ever been to Sisbury, Staining Round Hill, or Shanktonbury? No, of course not. Or you wouldn't want to knock your car to bits on lumps of rock in Cumberland.
Excuse me, everybody. This is a nice little discussion. May I join in? You, my dear sir, are so enamored of Kent and Surrey and the Downs that you forget that there's anything worth seeing on the other side of London. Now, I come from the Midlands, and I happen to know that in the heart of England, there's some of the finest and most interesting touring country in Britain. My vote is for the old Midland towns, rich in history: Warwick, Stratford, Ludlow, Worcester, Evesham. The winding lanes and hamlets of black and white houses in the Severn and Avon valleys. And if you want the wide open spaces, what can beat the views from the Malverns or from Bredon Hill? Have you walked along the Malverns or climbed out of the Avon Valley onto Bredon? Until you have, I'll not hear a word against the Midlands, not a word. For there you have England, the real England, Shakespeare's England. In fact, I hold that all these other places I've heard you extol are merely the setting for this central gem. Any objections?
Here, here. I quite agree with you. But I vote for the Cotswolds. Nothing mellows quite so wonderfully as Cotswold stone. And there's really no place like the Cotswolds for byway motoring. Nothing devastating, mind you, but always something of interest. Something perfectly lovely in a quiet sort of way. Never a dreary mile, but always unexpectedly round that innocent-looking corner, a most trim little village of clustering stone houses, with the smoke curling up from the chimney tops, blue against the banks of foliage. And when you think you know the Cotswolds, you can start all over again, finding new villages and new views you never dreamt existed before. Of course, I know those other places you're all so enthusiastic about are all very fine in their way, and I realize we all have our own tastes. But I'm never so happy as when I have a day or two to spare and can spend it touring in the Cotswold country.
Ever been to Yorkshire, any of you? Aye. Ever heard of Ripon, Fountains Abbey, Wensleydale and Richmond? I warrant you think of nothing but Sheffield, Leeds, Bradford, Huddersfield, Halifax and manufacturing when Yorkshire is mentioned. Yet I'm willing to wager that Yorkshire can give you the gradeliest scenery that you've ever known. Why, it's bigger than Wales, so it ought to be worth exploring. Mind you, you want a really good car for Yorkshire, because the hills are something terrific. You may be motoring along a quiet valley, and suddenly the road will whip up onto the moors, away from everything except the sheep and birds. And then, neatly tucked away in a hollow, you may run across an old abbey ruin, taking you back to days long before motor cars were ever dreamt of. Give me a fortnight's freedom, a map of Yorkshire, and just you see if I don't come back with just as much to talk about as any of you.
What is all this fuss about? How can anyone read at all with all your chattering? You want to know which is the best bit of England. I'll tell you. You each of you think your own choice marvellous. Marvellous. Now just listen a minute. What can equal the New Forest and the Hampshire coast? Answer me that. When I run down to Bournemouth, I always make a point of spending some of my time in the New Forest, ambling around, so to speak. A real bit of old England, I call it, with thatched cottages and wooded glades. And the ponies, why, it's wild country, where you can be right away from everyone, yet with the next village hiding just around the corner. can go down to the sea, where the tide gently ripples up the Solent with the world's greatest liners gliding proudly by. One can't keep away from the sea in England. But after all, what are we disputing about? If you travel in a happy frame of mind, and the weather is reasonably kind, you will find that this little island of ours can be beautiful wherever you go. Get a good car. That's the secret of it. Now, mine's an Austin.
And mine.
And mine.
And mine.
You buy a car, but we
Invest in an Austin.
So you've been reading the advertisements?
No, my dear Watson. If you look out of the window, the mystery will be explained.
Well, I'm blessed. Practically all of them are Austin. Everybody seems to be investing in an Austin these days, and I'm sure they can't do better.